We often hear about technological glitches, like cheap flights or price errors on websites. But what if I told you a legal loophole appeared in the French law in 2008, and one man took advantage of it? Louis Prévost was a law student. He was actually one of the best of his class. On April 5th, 2008, while he was browsing the news on his computer, he spotted something quite unusual.
I've known Louis since I was 12. We went to the same middle school together. We even had a common interest for legal matters, so we attended the same law school. I graduated in 2009. Louis dropped out. Louis was a really bright person and liked to be informed about news. I remember that he used to come every day with his newspaper to read before class. He also checked the news at night on his desk computer.
Now, you need to remember that in 2008, not everyone had the internet, and fewer were the people that checked the news online. Louis liked to search for law updates on the state's website legifrance.gouv, and he was one of the very few people that did. But the story begins a long time before Louis, in the 1800s. Everything started with Michel Ravin, a French landlord. It is estimated that he had more than 800 acres of land all over France. His most famous possession was the Chateau Ravin. Ravin was a man of mysteries, and one day around 1803 he disappeared.
Now there is something you need to know. In France, like in many countries, laws change. But until Bonaparte's regime, no major laws that included paperwork and legal matters were really installed. But in 1804, Napoleon created the French Civil Code, and one law appeared. Section 356 states, any farmer or landlord who doesn't declare their lands for 20 years will be suspended from their terrains, which means the land will go to the empire. And in 1824, that is exactly what happened to Ravin. After a trial where Michel did not respond present, 750 acres went to the French monarchy.
Throughout the years, the law got slight edits, but the most important was yet to come.
I remember when laws were just written on papers and everything was simple. But in the year 2000, things changed. We changed to euro at first, but a new rule appeared stating that laws have to be posted onto the internet, partly replacing physical archive. That means when one law has to be updated or modified, the old version is deleted from the database and the new one is set up.
That's one of the first things they taught us at law school. When a law gets edited, there is a slight time delay for the law to be physically printed or archived and uploaded to the internet database.
Louis was a smart kid. One day, while he was checking the website Legifrance for law updates, he spots something really strange.
He calls me. He's so excited. He's like, Thibaut, I'm going to be rich. But I couldn't make sense of what he was trying to explain to me.
Okay, so when I went on Legifrance, I spotted a law update on Law 356, forcing landlords to declare their land every 5 years instead of 20. When I clicked on it, an error message appeared, error 404. I suddenly decided to go back to the main page and the edit has disappeared.
On April 5th, 2008, I remember I was working on some water planning file, and suddenly this 20-year-old kid just stormed into my office.
What actually happened was that the new law modification had a typo error. But what does that imply? Well, the old version of the law has been shredded, and the internet version have been archived. Either the law drafters restore the old version, or immediately recreate the new one. But any of those two choices take around 1 hour and a half to do. That means the law is officially invalid during that amount of time. And anyone is in the legal right to disobey it.
So, when I see that error, I immediately know that there is going to be a legal loophole within a bit less than 2 hours. And I know I had to take advantage of it. My parents always told me that her ancestor was the richest landlord of Napoleonic France, but disappeared and the land was suspended from her family. I knew we had proof in the attic, so I ran up there to get it.
The kid starts showing me papers and cadastral maps. He tells me that he's a direct descendant of Michel Ravin and has all the legal proof to confirm it. After a few phone calls, I couldn't deny to this boy what he wanted. his family's terrain. I call my local senator who confirms that there has been an error and tells me to deny everything. When I do, the kid threatens me by spitting the law, that I was breaking by not giving him what he wanted, and that he was going to call a lawyer and a bailiff. Turns out he was a law student.
That's how I got him to print the papers, and in less than half an hour, everything was signed. And what was the public land was now in my possession.
That's how a simple law student, just turned 20 years old, managed to get 750 acres just by spotting an error in the law.
So about 2 hours later, Louis calls me and explains to me that he somehow managed to detain 750 acres of land, and he explains to me the whole story. And my first question was, where's the land? So he comes home when I get out of class and we check the coordinates on Google.
Turns out that the public land had been rented to private companies, like the famous Delarte Hotel and Casino Group, private motorways, an airport, factories, shopping centers, and farming lands.
All that land was worth millions, and I just wasn't legally allowed to keep onto it.
I remember telling him when he was at my house, "Oh my God, we're going to be rich!" And I'll remember this for the rest of my life. He replied, "I'm going to be rich." And he left my house, and I haven't seen him since that day.
So why did you cut bridges with Thibaut?
Thibaut? He was dickhead.
Oh, he said that to me! That's enough. J'en ai marre, j'arrête.
Louis finally decided to quietly and non-publicly ransom the state for 25 million euros, and the money was sent to him with no interest to pay. The only fine he had to pay was 35 euros for entering a high-level public employee's office without permission. And that's how a 20-year-old law student turned out to be a millionaire in less than 2 hours, and no one ever spoke about it.